right now at 7.
Breaking news, an emergency landing on a freeway overpass right here, 580, right next to it in Livermore. A small plane hit a car. Our crew was there watching it all happen. The pilot describing to KPIX 5 just moments ago what went wrong. Good evening, I'm Elizabeth Cook.
And I'm Ken Bassita, KPIX 5. Juliet Goodrich is live at the scene right now. Juliet, you actually were there. Watch this thing come down.
Yeah, Ken, it doesn't get any closer than this. Take a look directly behind me. This is the single-engine plane that came down. Now, we are over 580. This is Isabel. This is the overpass here. The single engine was actually headed to Napa. I just spoke with the pilot. It was his father and son. They took off from Livermore Municipal Airport. They were headed to Napa this afternoon. He tells me they had some engine failure, and that's when they noticed that the plane was just simply not going to make it. They actually, remarkably, tried to use this overpass as a runway, if you will, but they said that they just couldn't break it. They came down, and they actually ended up going into a car. We have some video to show you aerials and also ground shots. But yes, I was driving by just thinking it was possibly a fender bender, and then lo and behold, we spotted this. Now, just seconds ago, I spoke with the father and son. Again, they tell me they had taken off. They were headed to Napa for a day together. They are experienced pilots. When they had engine failure, let's hear what they had to say.
We're fine.
Were you guys headed to the airport, obviously?
No, we were departing the airport.
Oh, you were departing the airport.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Power loss on takeoff.
Oh my gosh, what was that feeling like?
Just have to fly the airplane.
Did you guys crash into a car?
Yeah, we collided with a car.
And that driver's okay?
Yeah, they took his car away. They're probably on the far end over there.
What do you think happened?
Don't know. That's up for the NTSB to figure it out.
I'm so glad you're okay.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're all okay.
Where were you headed?
To Napa.
To Napa. All right, and obviously rattled nerves. Again, a father and son leaving the Livermore Municipal Airport in their single-engine aircraft. When they were up in the air, they noticed that there was engine failure, and then they said that is when the plane just started losing power, and then they tried to literally use this particular over-ramp as a runway, if you will, to try to stop, and unfortunately they did crash into a white car, but remarkably, I'm looking over to my left. The father and son are fine, and hopefully the person that is in that car, that white car, is fine as well. But Ken, I was on the scene, and I didn't see any paramedics taking anyone away.
Wow.
In fact, it was almost surreal, and I'm sure you can see that from the photos as well and the video that we took.
Yeah, well, the old saying, any landing you can walk away from is a good one, and they are two very lucky individuals, as we hope the person in the car is. For those who don't know, this is just maybe 1,000 yards parallel to the runway at Livermore, across 580, the other side of 580. So they were trying to make it home. They lost power trying to turn and get back to the airport, didn't make it.
Yeah, actually, I thought that was the case, and that would make sense. They said they were leaving the airport, so they were actually leaving the municipal airport, heading to Napa. This father and son, they live in the Napa area, and that's when they lost engine power. And of course, I asked them about their experience. They said they've been flying for a number of years, and they will have to leave it up to the NTSB to figure out exactly what happened, but they were actually departing.
Well, it's a sight. Folks heading home tonight to the Tracy, Manteca area will remember for a while. Glad everyone's okay. Juliet Goodrich reporting live. Thanks, Juliet.
And more breaking news in the East Bay. The search for a coyote intensifying in Lafayette tonight after another attack, the 5th since July. This time, the animal bit a man across the street from a Quick Stop on Friday. It's a pretty busy area, and folks who live around there say they are on alert.
Very scary. We just went on a bike ride on the trail, and we talked about it. Coyotes, mountain lions, and at any given time, yeah, we're prepared because it's a possibility now.
A week ago, that same coyote bit a little girl, attacked right next to her mother in Moraga. A neighbor snapped this photo shortly after. Moraga police and the Department of Fish and Wildlife are working around the clock to track and trap the animal. And new details right now on the rollover crash that put Tiger Woods in the hospital.
Yeah, tonight, ESPN is reporting the golf legend suffered some serious injuries to both legs, including a compound fracture and a shattered ankle. 45-year-old golfer underwent hours of surgery to repair the damage this afternoon after rescue crews pulled him through the windshield of that mangled SUV. It was going down a hill south of Los Angeles when it hit a median, ran off the road. Investigators say Woods never hit the brakes, apparently, but neighbors say crashes like this are not uncommon on that steep, winding road.
Those of us who live in the area and travel this road, we go through brakes a lot. We spend a lot of money on brakes per year because you really need to ride them as you're going down this grade.
KPIX 5 Sports Director Dennis O'Donnell joins us now. And Dennis, it seemed like things were finally starting to go Tiger's way, and now this accident.
Yeah, Liz, Ken, Tiger Woods was at least a month away from returning to the PGA Tour, but he was on the course yesterday with former NBA star Dwayne Wade.
Tiger, thank you for teaching me something. How good am I, or how bad am I?
Good.
I'm not good. I'm sorry for using that.
We're getting better.
Tiger was all smiles in a teaching role for Wade and actor David Spade. Woods was reportedly on his way to the same golf course this morning to work with Saints quarterback Drew Brees, and it was 2 days ago Jim Nantz asked Woods about his possible return.
7 weeks from today, final round of the Masters. You going to be there?
Gotta hope so. I got to get there first.
You feel like
a lot of it is based on my surgeons and my doctors and my therapists, and making sure that I do it correctly. And this is the only back I got, so I don't have much more wiggle room left there.
Ken, Liz, reaction pouring in from all over the sporting world. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, 49ers general manager John Lynch, and of course, Tiger's longtime rival Phil Mickelson also sending Tiger prayers tonight. Guys, back to you.
He's going to have a long road to recovery.
For sure. Dennis, thank you for that. We will be obviously updating this story all evening long as new information comes in on air and online. You can stay up to date and sign up for breaking news alerts by downloading our KPIX News app.
Live look at the Soma neighborhood in San Francisco, the site of a heartless and vicious attack against a man in a wheelchair.
And that's where we find KPIX 5's Andrea Borba, who is live with more on this story. Andrea?
Well, SFPD tonight, Ken and Elizabeth, are looking for 4 suspects in this case, accused of some really cruel acts against someone who could not defend themselves.
This report is shocking. It's definitely shocking for us, and we take reports of pretty horrible incidents.
Those words from SFPD tonight after an attack that left a man without his wheelchair and crawling for help. The attack happened around 9 p.m. last Wednesday on Mary Street, 2 tiny blocks sandwiched between Mena and Howard in San Francisco's south of Market neighborhood. A Latino man in his 60s, moving on the poorly lit blocks in this model of electric wheelchair, was attacked by 4 men in their 20s.
One of the suspects made some comments about the victim's wheelchair, and the next thing you know, he was struck in the face, and the other suspects dragged the victim out of the wheelchair.
He was kicked on the ground and left without his ride. The owner of a nearby consulting firm said this about the state of the streets in Soma.
It does shock me, but it doesn't surprise me. You know, it happens because people steal things all the time. Even they have to assault somebody to steal his wheelchair, they do that.
Now, the victim in this case is doing physically okay. SFPD say these 4 men, when they are in fact apprehended, could face charges of assault, grand theft, perhaps even elder abuse. Live in San Francisco tonight, Andrea Borba, KPIX 5.
Andrea, thank you for that.
Coming up, the Bay Area city getting tough with police reform. The proposals on the table at a meeting right now.
One of our recommendations is that we fire racist police officers who are identified through social media.
It did not feel very much like February at all. Record high temperatures all over the place in the Bay Area. Santa Rosa and Napa, Oakland all made it up to or even above 80 degrees. Strong winds are going to start bringing in some cooler air tomorrow. We'll track those winds coming up in the forecast.
It's ugly. Breaking news, another look at our amazing live shot tonight. Incredible emergency landing in Livermore, right near Interstate 580. The pilot had just taken off when he had an engine failure. They tried to turn around, get back to Livermore Airport, couldn't quite make it. They ended up hitting a vehicle when they touched down. We will have another update coming up later in our show.
Let's take another live look outside, looking north from San Francisco. It was another just gorgeous day today, and the city is just sparkling. I don't think you could get much better than today. Everybody was outside. You could tell everyone sort of like wanted just to enjoy it and have a reason to celebrate the great weather. But it sounds like maybe a little bit of change, some wind maybe coming our way.
Yeah, the winds are going to kick up stronger than they did today. It was breezy from time to time today, especially as you head farther inland. It's going to be somewhat breezy overnight, but the really windy conditions are going to kick in across the Bay Area tomorrow. Windy and cooler because it's going to be a northerly wind. But that offshore wind is actually going to push the ocean influenced air, the marine air, back out over the Pacific. So even along the coast, your temperatures are going to be very similar to what everybody else experiences. So that's kind of nice for another day. Dry weather continuing through the rest of this week and through the weekend, and that takes us through the rest of February. Some hints that maybe a little bit down the line into early March, we might get into a bit more of an active weather pattern. Let's take a look at those hour-by-hour wind gusts. That's going to be active as we head towards late morning tomorrow. By noon, already tracking plenty of 20 to 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and that's strong enough to move you onto the road if you're not careful. But the strongest gusts are going to be the North Bay and into Solano County with gusts over 30 miles an hour. And keep in mind, these are for the cities. You go up in elevation, and those wind gusts are going to be quite a bit stronger in the 40 to 60-mile-an-hour range. And it's still going to be breezy out there by this time tomorrow evening. Once the sun goes down, the wind is going to relax to some extent, but the higher elevations, the gusty winds are going to continue into tomorrow night. So the National Weather Service has actually just extended the wind advisory from 10 a.m. tomorrow through 4 a.m. on Thursday. We're talking about 15 to 30-mile-an-hour northerly winds. That's that offshore direction. That's for most of us in the lower elevations. But inland in the East Bay, those valleys, some of that wind is going to make its way down the hills a little bit. So you're going to have to watch out for some stronger gusts and watch out for any falling tree branches. The higher elevations, though, 40 to 60-mile-an-hour gusts, and it's going to be dispersing plenty of pollen across the Bay Area. Medium-high category for tomorrow and Thursday, but then sky-high pollen levels for Friday and Saturday. It's mainly tree pollen this time of year, but if you're sensitive to it, you will definitely be sensitive to it by the end of the work week and into the weekend. Right now, just a beautiful look out over the city from the top of the Mark Hopkins Hotel. It's 57 degrees downtown, while everyone else's temperatures are in the low 60s. But these are close to our average high temperatures, and the sun's been down for about 90 minutes, so we're still way above where we should be this time of year. We'll end up in the 40s in most locations tomorrow morning. It's a little cooler in the valleys of the North Bay, but you'll warm up faster than everybody else. Temperatures tomorrow in the low to mid 60s already by noon, and we'll top out in the upper 60s to around 70 degrees. It's still 6 to 8 degrees above normal. It's just not the record-setting high temperatures that we had today. And that gradual cool down is going to continue as we head into Thursday and Friday. Coolest day likely to be Saturday with those strong northerly winds returning for another day. A little more cloud cover early next week, but we've taken even that slight chance of a shower out of the forecast for Monday, at least for now. We'll keep our eyes peeled for any hint of moisture that might head our way.
All right.
Well, here's a look at your top headlines. Looking live at Capitol Hill earlier, makers of the COVID vaccine told Congress a big jump in doses is coming soon. Both Pfizer and Moderna both say by the end of March, they will have provided the U.S. with 220 million doses, up from the roughly 75 million shipped so far. They said they'll be able to provide enough vaccine for most Americans by summer. An East Bay mother and child have been found safe. This after police say the child's father went on a deadly weekend crime spree. 31-year-old Kimberly Meeks and her 4-year-old son have been missing since Saturday. Officers believed her to be in danger. They say her son's father had shot and killed the man Meeks was staying with. Afterwards, police say 26-year-old Darian Williams robbed a store in Brentwood. Officers say he then shot a man and 2 first responders in Antioch. The crime spree ended with Williams' arrest after a chase with CHP into Richmond. Ken?
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Coming up next, how renaming a beautiful park in the East Bay could help the community heal.
But for all of the people that have been murdered by San Leandro police throughout the years.
And the sweeping police reforms on the table right now in one East Bay city, what it could mean for police officers. And we're on top of that breaking news in Livermore. Another live report minutes away. A small plane crash landing into a car on a freeway overpass. We'll be right back. The city of San Leandro looking to rededicate a city park to honor those shot and killed by police. The park would be named after Stephen Taylor. He was apparently going through a mental crisis when he was shot by police last April. City council members now want to redesign a park in his honor. Stephen's grandmother says that she doesn't want a statue for her grandson. Instead, she wants to honor all those who died at the hands of police.
And not only for Stephen, but for all of the people that have been murdered by San Leandro police throughout the years. He's not the first, and he will not be the last if we don't do something about what's going on in our cities.
Let's take a live look at Berkeley tonight, where the city council is meeting to discuss recommended police reform measures. They include requiring written consent for police searches, firing racist officers, and eliminating basic police stops like failing to wear a seatbelt.
One of our recommendations is that we fire racist police officers who are identified through social media and other media screens, and that we are very careful in the hiring process as well as the retention of officers.
The goal of this process was to dive into the data, to hear from subject matter experts who have done work in this area, and to work with the police department to develop a set of recommendations and an action plan for how we can reduce racial disparities in police stops in the city of Berkeley.
If approved, the city would have to develop a plan for implementing those recommendations.
Coming up next, we'll take you back out to Livermore. Live pictures of a plane that had to make a very scary emergency landing right next to Interstate 580. Another live report is coming up next. Want to take you back out to Livermore Live right now. Breaking news, KPIX 5 Juliette Goodrich eyewitnessed a small plane crash that happened on an on-ramp to an overpass near Interstate 580. Juliette, what's the latest?
Yeah, Ken, we're on that overpass right now. You can see the single-engine plane directly behind me. They're in the process of towing it now. The father and son walked out unscathed. I spoke to both of them. They were leaving the airport this afternoon, headed to Napa. I asked them what possibly went wrong. They said obviously the NTSB will be investigating, but they just lost power as they took off. They actually tried to use this overpass as a runway, if you will, and they ended up landing here, nosediving actually into a white vehicle. Fortunately, they walked away without any scratches. Unbelievable, and I'm hoping that that driver of the white vehicle they crashed into is okay, but I didn't see any ambulances here on the scene to have to take anyone away. This is just a crazy incident, and honestly, when you walk away like they are right now, they're sitting here taking pictures and talking to investigators. That's quite remarkable. Ken, back to you.
All right, Juliette, some minor damage looks like to the front end of that plane, but everybody got out okay, and lucky they are. Juliette Goodrich reporting live from Livermore. Thanks.
Remarkable. And of course, we'll have the very latest on the crash coming up tonight at 11 o'clock. And thank you for watching. The news continues streaming on CBSN Bay Area.
And we'll be back here at 11 o'clock with more local news for you. Good night.